What's going on, Spurs fans? I am Spurs Nation 87. We are here live in Corpus Christi, Texas. And I've got my very good friend and special guest here to talk Spurs basketball with me. You know him very well as TTSD, Tom the Spurs Dude. How you doing, Thomas?
Oh, what's going on, man? Oh, pretty good, man. Glad to see you down here. And, I'm looking forward to talking some Spurs basketball.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Speaking about the Spurs, I know I haven't really caught up much with the Summer League. I know you have because, you watch, you know about more than the Summer League. And basically what the Summer League is pretty much almost like a D-League, how they're developing and how the players are going to be how they're going to be an impact going into next season. We saw players like Kyle Anderson, Jonathan Simmons, Deadman,
DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, DeJounte Murray, Dwyane Dedman. Who else? Who else was in the summer league? That we know that's.
Davis Burtons.
Davis Burtons. And then also and then also the Spurs. The signing of the Spurs also. Pau Gasol, Pat Garino, Brian. Is it
Brian Forbes?
Brian Forbes.
Yeah.
And then they have Ryan. It's hard to say.
Arcadiano, I think that's how you pronounce his name, from Villanova.
Yeah. But let's start with the players that we know from the summer league. From what you saw out of Kyle Anderson, what you saw out of Jonathan Simmons, what you saw out of Dwyane Dedman, what you saw out of DeJounte Murray, how do you think how would they impact the Spurs going into next season?
Well, Kyle Anderson, just like last year, he's proven that he's a veteran now. And it's only been 2 years now. This will be his second year, but he's much improved. Kyle Anderson's a very smart, intelligent player, and he showed that in the summer league, being the leading scorer on the Spurs summer league team again. And he played so well that when Becky Hammond was coaching them, she decided not to play him for the rest of the games because, he really already proved himself. That's how good he is.
Yeah.
He can score, and people say, that he's slow, but you have to remember Kyle Anderson, he makes smart moves. He calculates his moves in slow motion. So, what you consider slow is actually normal pace for him. That's just the way he plays basketball. But he's just as effective as anyone who's quick. He just does it in slow motion. But in his mind, he's actually playing fast. To us, he's going slow, but to him, he's just he's going normal pace. That's just the style in which he plays in, and he showed that again in this year's summer league that he's capable of scoring. And also Jonathan Simmons, he proved that this guy is an up and coming player. A guy that had something to prove. He was undrafted. He came up as a D-League add-on. He went through the D-League. He signed up, tried out as a basketball player for the D-League. He made the Austin Spurs, and he's just exploded. His game, he's got a lot of game. The thing I like about Jonathan Simmons is that he's a slasher. He can shoot from the outside. He can attack the rim at will. He's not afraid of contact. He goes up and dunks. He can alley-oop. He can catch lobs. He's also, a lot of people say, he's not a great defender. Actually, he is. He gets a lot of steals, and he scores in transition, and he's athletic, and he just hustles on every play. That's some things that you can't teach. You can't teach hustle plays. Jonathan Simmons brings it every damn game. And that's what the Spurs need. That's what they need. And I loved what I saw from him again in Summer League. And once again, and the Spurs also have other players like Davis Burtons. Davis Burtons, not a lot of people were too familiar with Davis Burtons because he came over from Europe, overseas, But Davis Bertans is basically a younger, more athletic Matt Bonner. He can shoot from the outside. He can catch and shoot 3-pointers. He's not just a spot-up 3-point shooter. He can catch on the fly. He can dribble, pull up in your face, and if he'll just make threes with your mouth wide open. In all, I mean, he knows how to score and he knows how to drive. He just doesn't settle for threes. He'll throw some pump fakes here and there, and he'll attack the basket, either hit you with the floater or he's gonna go and dunk it. He's very good, and this is gonna be another up and coming player. And that's he impressed me so far. And the other guy, DeJounte Murray. This kid.
Oh my goodness.
He's more athletic than George Hill and Corey Joseph everywhere.
Combined.
This kid is good. When LeBron James, on draft night, LeBron James actually texted DeJounte Murray because he's actually friends with him, and they share the same sports agent. And their sports agent is called Clutch Group, with a K. And when DeJounte Murray was drafted by the Spurs, LeBron, called him up and said, "You just went to the best organization in the world." Even LeBron knows the Spurs are great.
Yeah, and I remember I read an article seeing that LeBron would love to play for Pop, but I mean let's face the facts here. I mean, LeBron may be the so-called greatest player in the world, but I mean, come on, the dude acts cocky at times. He when the team loses, he's always talking about how I didn't help my team enough. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. And you and I have talked about this for so many years, plenty of times. It is not a one-man show. It is a team. I already said this is not, the Cleveland. They're not the Cleveland LeBron James. They're the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's a whole freaking team. It's the whole team. If the team loses, everyone messed up because they didn't do their part. It's not just one player. But yeah, I give him props. He makes mistakes. And he owned up to what he did. But still, I mean, it's if he messed up, the whole team messed up because they didn't do what they're supposed to do. But getting off of LeBron, back to the get back to the Spurs, man. DeJounte Murray. Wow, when I saw this kid in the summer league, this dude. I mean, he was already playing like he's. Like an experienced NBA player. Just by the way he was playing. I mean, with the scoring, setting up plays. I mean, fearlessly driving to the basket. I mean, and this is what I've said time after time after time after time again. We need players that are not afraid to take risks driving to the basket. If they're not making outside shots, it's like, the hell with this. Drive to the basket. Even if you get blocked, at least you're going to the basket first, trying to make the basket. That's the kind of player we need. Someone who's fearless, who's ruthless, who's aggressive. We need players like that. Especially like you were talking about Jonathan Simmons. That dude scares the hell out of me. Especially how the way he played in some. I didn't really watch Summer League. I saw the highlights, but man, the way this dude was playing scares the hell out of me. And I can't even imagine next season him coming off the bench and how much of a spark that he can provide for the Spurs bench. Is and especially if the whole bench feeds off his energy, but not just his energy, other players coming off the bench as well. Speaking of the bench, now we're getting into the Rio Olympics. This past Rio Olympics, the basketball has I cannot believe what I've seen out of newly signed Pau Gasol. Patty freaking Thrills. Are you freaking kidding me? This dude he's freaking huge. He is toned up. He is ripped. And he looks a lot more better there. And when I saw him in the Olympic in playing for his country, Australia. Oh my God, this dude was just going off from every single freaking angle all over the court, from outside, inside. This dude was nailing shots from left to right. I mean, I'm now. You know what? Now that he's playing a lot more better than he has now, and especially with him averaging 21 points with this Australian team, man, I can't even imagine how much also he'll provide a gigantic, huge spark off the bench. You know, coming going into next season, and especially the way Pau Gasol played. You know, look, Pau Gasol just turned like what 37 or 38.
No, he's actually like 33.
Okay. Well, anyway, with the with the way how Pau Gasol also played, I mean, he's a older player, but this guy can still score. This guy can still rebound. He can still defend. And you know what? It never ceases to amaze me because I've always loved watching this, and I've told everyone, this dude's gonna be a Spur in the future. And probably might be late, but it's better late than never that we get him. And sure enough, here he is, finally with the Spurs. You know, like I said, and I've always watched this dude ever since, you know, when he was with the Lakers. I never really saw him when he was with the Grizzlies, but how he caught my attention was when I saw him playing against the Lakers in the 2008 NBA Finals. Man, that dude was unfreaking believably good, and I couldn't even imagine and I said this before, so I never really mentioned it on here, but I've said it before. The moment when that year comes, when Tim Duncan retires, the Spurs will sign him. And sure enough, it happened. Like I said, it was late, but you know, just like we said, better late than never. And I'm already ready to see what this new younger Spurs team is able to do. But based on what you've seen for the Rio Olympics, what do you think is going to be an impact also for our players?
Well, yeah, like you said, you know, Pau Gasol, he really did impress me in the Rio Olympic Games, playing for Spain.
Never failed us.
He's able to, you know, the thing with Pau Gasol is that he can stretch the floor for the Spurs. You know, I don't know how many times I saw him hit three-pointers in the Olympics. He was making it rain. And if you left him open, he was knocking them down. And, you know, even though the three-point line is shorter in FIBA and the Olympics, still, you know, that's still, you know, he's capable of hitting threes, even in the NBA. But he's also, those are, you know, mid-range jump shots in the NBA. But just think of how many shots he's going to make for the Spurs. Just think of how many pick-and-roll plays they can roll with him and Tony Parker, where Parker just gives him the ball and he just pulls it from mid-range and it's going in. He's good. He's a good shooter. He can post up. He can rebound for you. He can block some shots. He does everything.
And he can even pass,
you know,
too.
He's a great passing big man. And Pau Gasol has a very, you know, high intelligent, you know, he's a very high IQ player, and he's going to make the Spurs better. Also, Patty Mills, we just got done talking about Patty. Patty put on a ton of muscle. He's stronger. He's tough. And, you know, he's very aggressive. And with that, adding that muscle mass, it gives him confidence. And he played with a ton of confidence with the Australian national team. He was not only making three-pointers, he was attacking the basket and hitting layups and floaters. And he was cutting and he was slashing through the lane, and he was averaging about 27 points per game in the Olympics for Australia. And even though they didn't go all the way, but you know, nobody was gonna beat Team USA in these Olympics. No team can match up with them, but they still played well. And the thing that I like about the Olympics is watching the guys who play for the Spurs, because you know, when you see how well they perform, you know, it kind of gives you a preview of what's to come in, you know, next season. So the Olympics do play somewhat of a role, and it does have a part in terms of, you know, watching players get better over the course of the summer, and you see, you know, the amount of confidence that they're playing with in these Olympics. And man, if they can duplicate that and do that for the Spurs next season, the Spurs are gonna be a really, really good. And you don't need Kevin Durant, mama drama, to be okay. The Spurs really don't need Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant really, here's the thing about Kevin Durant. He had a chance to sign with the Spurs, and instead he went to the Warriors, just for the same reasons David West did. Ring chasing, because they can't win themselves. The Golden State Warriors didn't need Kevin Durant. In fact, he really, they lost 5 good bench players for him.
Oh, you know what?
And what's going to happen if he gets hurt? What's going to happen if KD gets tired? Well, guess what? Your bench that was there last year ain't there no more. The bench you had in the finals ain't there no more. So what are you going to do, Golden State, when the bridge starts to collapse into the San Francisco Bay?
Hey, you know what? Now that we're getting on to the season now, the Spurs actually play the Warriors the first game.
First game of the season.
And you know what? Looking at this Warriors team, they did lose 5 of their important pieces. I mean, the Warriors are pretty much they're more of a smaller, undersized team. I really don't know how that's really going to help them. They don't have no rebounding. Pretty much all they have.
Lost Bogut. They lost. I know they lost Harrison Barnes to the Mavs. Bogut went to the Mavs too, I think, and they lost Maurice Spates. Went to the Clippers. Leandro Barbosa went back to the Phoenix Suns. They lost a lot of key players. They lost a lot of bench players.
What about Festus? Did he leave too, or is he still?
I think he's still there. But I mean, they still lost a lot of players. That's 5 is too many. If they lost maybe 1 or 2, then they would still have that chemistry. But when you lose 5 players like that, that's your chemistry right there. That's a lot of chemistry right there.
Yeah.
And sometimes chemistry, I would rather have chemistry than just talent. Kevin Durant's a talented player, but when you have chemistry and you lose chemistry like that, sometimes that's the difference between winning a championship and getting eliminated at the second round. Yeah. So, nothing's written in stone. Nothing is written in stone for the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? With this new look Warriors team, they're really not going to do much. I mean, I just don't see it. I mean, like I said, they don't have any rebounding. All they pretty much have is just scoring. That's pretty much all they. To me, that's all they pretty much have.
If you lock down on their shooters and make a miss, then you can pretty much, you can hold them from scoring. But yeah, if you lock them down on defense, I mean, we all saw what happened in the finals when Kyrie Irving went up against Stephen Curry, and Kyrie outplayed him for 3 games, and that's the reason why they won that series. People could sit there and pretend like Stephen Curry was hurt, and he wasn't hurt. He's not hurt enough to be dancing around when he's hitting 3-pointers. Oh, he's not hurt then, but now all of a sudden he loses. Now he's hurt. Stop, Steve Kerr. You're embarrassing yourself. So, I'm looking. Let's talk about the game matchups. On Christmas Day, the Spurs will be playing the Chicago Bulls. Dwyane Wade, the first member as a Bull. Spurs will be playing them on Christmas Day. So, as that'll be fun to watch. It'll be at home in San Antonio.
You know what? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt, but we have to do this in respect for Dwyane Wade. He just lost his cousin on the south side of Chicago in a fatal shooting. I mean, his cousin was pushing a baby in a stroller, and I guess it was a drive-by shooting. So you know what? Let's have just a quick moment of censure, quick, and our prayers and thoughts go out to Dwyane Wade and his family. Again, sorry about your loss, Dwyane Wade. Like I say, our thoughts of course go out to you and your family. It sucks when you lose a family. It sucks when you lose family, especially over nonsense like that. You know, I just wish all this violence would stop. You know, this world is it's pretty much almost coming to an end, especially with all the stuff, all the violence and the shooting, and you know all this ridiculous gun violence is going on. You know, but like I said, you know, our thoughts Spurs with you, Dwyane Wade, and your family too. Okay, but now getting to the Bulls. I think with the Spurs and the Bulls playing on Christmas Day, I think it's going to be a pretty entertaining game. But depending also on what time they, I mean, do you know what time they play?
I didn't really look at the time. I think it's going to be an afternoon game. I don't think it's going to be a morning game. Probably like a 1-ish or somewhere around there. But it'll be basically, you know, our presents will be open by then, so it's not like I'm gonna be roasting chestnuts over an open fire while the game's going on. It probably won't even be cold enough to do that. We'll probably be, you know, outside, or you know, it'll be too warm outside anyway. So every Christmas, it's always warm in Texas.
Yeah, yeah. I could never understand this Texas weather. I mean, we're in October, November, December, or even January. It's supposed to get cold. And most of the time, it's not even cold. It's just freaking burning. It's just hot or humid. Now, if there's a really cool breeze and the sun's like and it's a clear blue sky with the sun out and I'm fine with that. But for it not having no cool wind at all and it being just hot, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. The weather doesn't make any sense anymore. It used to be cold when we were younger. Shit, it used to be cold on.
I'm still young.
Well, we're young, but when we were kids, yeah. Well, when we were kids, I mean, it would get cold. Yeah, it would get cold like in October, November, December, even January. You know, but I don't know what the weather's changed a lot.
Speaking of change, this is some changing that we're all gonna have to get used to.
Yeah. Speaking of change, yeah. Big, huge change for next season.
Spurs fans, if you haven't already, be sure to check out the latest Sports Illustrated special limited edition Tim Duncan magazine, a farewell to the big fundamental.
Yes, and then also there was another magazine here. It is called The Legend. You can find them at
the San Antonio Express News show.
Yeah. I've seen these. Yeah, they are at the San Antonio Express News, but then also I've seen these at Valero at Valero gas stations, at 7-Eleven, Shell, anywhere in San Antonio you can find them, or probably even in Corpus you can find them. Maybe in Corpus you can find them.
Well, you can buy these online from the San Antonio Express News website as well. So you can buy these from the Express News newspaper. And they have these available online, so they're about $5. But if you don't live in San Antonio and you're ordering them with shipping and handling, it'll come out to like $11. I know because I just bought it. But these are magazines that you can't put a price tag on. They are simply priceless. Very, you know, the photos that are in here are all HD quality. Everything about this is a must-have for any Spurs fan.
Yeah.
So. Thank you, Timmy, for 19 great years. There will never, ever be another Tim Duncan.
There will never, not ever be another Tim Duncan. Never. Even if there was someone who played as the same level as you do or averaged the same points as you did when you were younger, no. There will never be another you. Ever. You will never be replaced. Never. But, like we said before, and we'll say it again, thank you, Duncan, for 19 years. Greatest 19 years.
Thank you, Tim.
Fifth over. You've had more than 15 seasons with 50 wins. Never, ever had a losing season. Never, ever missed the playoffs.
And it was never about Tim. It was always about the Spurs.
Exactly. So, is there anything else that you would like to talk about on the schedule that on which matchup that you're really aching to see.
Warriors and Cavaliers. That's all that matters. Everybody else is just filling in the dates. I mean,
Yeah, Warriors and Cavaliers.
I mean that's all it comes down to. I mean, I don't mean to sound cocky or anything, but I mean that's all it comes down to. Nobody cares about the Detroit Pistons. The only thing we worry about is the only thing about the Pistons is now they have Boban Marjanovic. Other than that, Boban, good luck in Detroit, and don't forget your oil change. But I mean, other than the Warriors and Cavaliers, maybe OKC, but it's not gonna be the same without Durant
it's
there.
not really gonna be.
It's basically gonna come down to the Golden State Warriors and the Cavaliers, and that's all that really matters.
You know what? Now that we're talking about OKC, now I think the Spurs have gotten better at rebounding because you know what? And I know Joe had big shout out to my bro Joe from the Spurs fan cave, and also Martin Dominguez, Old School McGee, Spurs Spurs Phenom, Sparachi. Let me see who else. The Spurs Stash. Can't forget the Spurs Stash. Also my buddy Ed. Also, we can't forget Miss Old School McGee too, who's married to Mr. Old School McGee. And little Miss, well, I guess preschool McGee because she's still a little girl, Mariah. But Joe was talking about this before, that the issue with the Spurs was because they had something on the team. We had undersized players, and knowing that was a big factor for us, that the Thunder were a little bit more bigger because they had Steven Adams, they had Serge Ibaka. You know, they had more athletic. They had more athletic size to help on the boards, and that's how the Spurs got beat, despite the fact they got robbed in game 2. Despite that fact, the Spurs got out rebounded pretty bad against the Thunder in that series. Because for one, Dio hardly did anything. West didn't really do much at all for the Spurs. Speaking of David West, he's with the Warriors now. So now he's another ring chaser. But you know what? He's not really going to be much of a factor.
He's really not a factor with the Spurs
at all.
He won't be a factor with the Warriors.
The only thing good about him, he was pretty aggressive when it came to with scoring stuff. When it came to rebounding, I mean, he didn't really do too much. I mean, he's just too undersized. That's why we got guys more bigger. Like I said, Dwyane
Dedmon.
Yeah.
Dwyane Dedmon is gonna be nice. He's young and he's athletic. He can rebound, block shots, and Dwyane Dedmon can also score if they run pick and rolls with him as well. Just run to the basket and dunk it or lay it up and in. I mean, he's athletic enough to get to the rim. That's what the Spurs needed, a younger big guy. Not a lot of people are too familiar with Dwyane Dedmon, but they will be once he starts, getting some dunks in games, and people will see how good he is once he gets those minutes. But the Spurs, they've gotten younger. They're not old. Their average age right now is about 27 years old, so that's pretty young. It's not young, but at the same time, you don't want to just be a totally young team because you need experience regardless. If you don't have experience, no matter how young you are, you will not win in the NBA.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what? I think the way the Spurs are going to start out, they're probably going to start out the same way they started out last season. At the beginning, I mean, they weren't really doing too well, and Aldridge was still he was adjusting. Yeah, he was getting used to the Spurs system and adjusting to it. So, I mean, he had a bit of a slow start of the season, but then literally along close to about probably halfway, or actually when he deleted his Instagram or deactivated his Instagram and his Twitter accounts, he actually played a lot better. I mean, he was scoring around 20 points, 30 points. he was playing a lot more better because I guess because all it was just a distraction for him. Because he was always getting criticized by some of the fans, saying that you're garbage, or saying that you suck. Go back to Portland. I'm like, dude, come on, man. I mean, it's the first. It was his first year. I mean, you can't expect just for someone just to go out and start, scoring like 30, 40 points, like 20, 30 or 30 points a game. You can't expect that. These players need to adjust to the team. Not just to the team, but then not only that. I mean, he had to get used to the court too, or to the basket in the AT&T. So he had to get used to that. So when he saw all that trash crap and all that, and then especially he deactivated his Instagram, he deactivated his Twitter, and especially his fan page, which he really does, connect with fans. That really helped him out a lot. He got off of that. He played a lot more better. He played with more aggression, with defense and rebound. I mean, he played a whole. I mean, this is a whole different LaMarcus Aldridge that we've seen, especially how the way he played, how the way he played with the Trailblazers. But what's your take on how you think how it's really going to start with the Spurs for next season?
They can either start off slow or they can start off hot, but. Pop's going to pace him, and he's, they really don't care about how many. Pop doesn't really care about how many games they win in a row and all that stuff. It's more about just, getting, winning the games they need to win, but at the same time, pacing themselves. You don't want to come out the gates hauling ass and then run out of gas halfway through the season. You want to pace yourself. You want to, it's going to be the same thing with the Spurs every year. It's, 50-plus games they're going to win, and almost they'll probably win like 60 games, but at the end of the day, it's always about preparing for the playoffs. They'll be at least, if not the first seed, they'll probably be at least the second seed. No lower than third. That is pretty much the same thing with the Spurs every year, so... to me, however they start, the only thing that matters really is that they go into the playoffs next year ready and with momentum and, looking to win another title. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and you know what? There's something that I've been wanting to ask, and ever since I heard this with Tony Parker and Patty Mills. Did you read this before about how Pop had to talk with Tony Parker about changing roles and becoming a bench player, right?
Yeah.
Okay. With the way how Patty Mills has been playing as of late, especially with his team, do you honestly think, especially with how he's lived up to his potential and to everyone else's expectations, do you honestly think that Patty Mills should actually be the starting point guard, starting with Danny Green, Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Pau Gasol, and Tony Parker coming off the bench?
Well, yeah, Patty Mills can start for the Spurs, and he did it even in his days in Portland. Listen, this is a guy that's a leader on the court. He starts for the Australian national team, and he's led them. He did his thing in the Olympics. And even years ago when he came in for Brandon Roy, when Brandon Roy got hurt, he stepped up to the plate and he took over the Blazers. He's capable of doing that now with the Spurs, even now that he's even better. And, he's stronger and he's gotten bulkier. He's lean and mean and he's tough. And, if Tony Parker doesn't, pick up the pace here, Patty Mills can. He plays with a lot of energy. The one thing is that Pop will probably still want Patty to come off the bench because he's a spark. But if he's playing good enough to start, there's really no right or wrong answer. You can start Patty Mills, and I don't think the Spurs would be doing anything wrong by starting him. I think it would help benefit them as well.
You know what? I won't disagree with that because I think that should, and not only that, Patty Mills is he's a lot more younger and he's a lot more quicker than Tony Parker, and we need someone like Patty Mills that's able to keep up with the younger and faster point guards because Parker can't really do it, especially with all the miles that he has put in his body just playing with his French team for basketball. You know, I honestly would put Patty Mills over him, but at least now the good news is Tony Parker and Milo Ginobili are finally retired from playing basketball with their countries, and maybe now will be the time that Tony Parker can actually keep away from basketball and spend more time with his girlfriend or his wife and his son and another baby on the way as well. Especially with Ginobili, how he can spend some more time with his wife and his kids too. And not only that, Parker can rest up more every summer from now on.
Yep.
All right, so was there anything else that would you like to add to this conversation?
I think we touched on everything here.
Alrighty, well, I guess y'all know about our expectations for next season, the preview for next season of what's gonna happen. So, with the players with the young kids that we've had on this Spurs team playing in the summer league, you know, Simmons, Anderson, Dedmon, and Burdens, and how they're gonna make an impact, especially how their performance was this past summer. And also with our international Spurs players, you know, Patty Mills, Pau Gasol, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, how they're going to be much of an impact going into the next season. And especially, we're going to find out for ourselves on how exactly well that this new Spurs team and younger Spurs team, which they are no longer old, how everyone's always calling them. Their age average right now is like 28 years old, right? But it's 27.6, but let's just run it up to 28. The team is 28 years old overall, age overall. Okay, so they're no longer old. So please, all you idiots, come up with a better excuse. Please come up with a better excuse.
There's always something that people gotta say. They're too young, they're too old, they're too dark, they're too dirty, they're too soft, they're too everything. No, your team just sucks. How about that?
Yeah. Sucks so bad you make the 76ers look good.
Oh man. Even the Generals. Even the Washington Generals.
Oh my god. Alright guys, well we pretty much covered everything, so I'm sorry I have not been able to do a video. Like I said, I told you I was going to be able to do a video, but now we did one, but with a special guest here, my good friend and colleague TTSD, TomTheSpursDude. Hey, thank you so much, man, for being on my show.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was good talking Spurs basketball with you again, especially giving our fans the info that they need on what we expect for our Spurs for next season.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank y'all again for tuning in. Thank y'all so much for the support. Like I said, you know, there's never ever a dull moment that we don't ever appreciate you guys, especially for tuning in. You know, watching, hearing what we have to say. You know, we can't thank you enough. We really can't. You know, it's because of you guys that make us of who we are. Because there will never be a Spurs Nation. There will never be a TTSD. Period. Before we go, more shout outs also to my Spurs Fairy. Love you, baby. The Spurs Deadpool. Can't forget Deadpool. The Spurs. Can't forget the Spurs Man. Spurs Spider-Man. The Spurs Hulk. And if anyone can get this out to the Spurs, also big shout out to the Spurs, and also one of the most craziest, rowdiest, diehard Tim Duncan, Spurs fans ever. If there are any players that are going to a certain location, whether it's here in Corpus or it's in San Antonio, this crazy fan will be there as early as 6 o'clock in the morning. All day, wait all day until that player gets there. Big shout out to Sophie, the Spurs lady. That woman, man, she never ceases to amaze me. That woman has got so much heart. I mean, I've never seen any fan like her that does stuff like that, especially for the players. That's true spirit right there. That's true freaking Spurs spirit right there. I love that. Also, shout outs to Melissa Espinosa, who's another great Spurs fan. We can't forget Sonia Dominguez, the Spurs amigo. And then we get the biggest Danny Green fan. One of the biggest diehard Danny Green fans. Hardcore Danny Green fan. Israel Camacho, can't forget about him. Who else we're missing? Oh, Carlos and Rosanna Martinez. I'm trying to think of who else because there's no. But don't think that I forget anyone on Facebook. Big shout out to everyone on Facebook who supports the videos that I do or that we do together. Big shout out to everyone, and I mean everyone on Facebook. If I don't get to your name, I will be sure that the next time when I do a video, I'll be sure to get to you. Okay. So, but big shout out to everyone on Facebook and everyone who watches my videos clearly. Big shout out to everyone on Facebook. And also, big shout out to everyone on my Spurs Nation fan page that watches what I post as well. Thank y'all. And also, I'm not trying to make it about myself or anything, but I have over 3,000 likes. Thank you guys so much for all of your support for my page. Thank you so much. My page will be my page will be nothing without you guys. Y'all guys are what make my Spurs Nation page the best, along with the Spurs Fan Cave page as well. But this, like I said, this is not a popularity contest. There's our way of saying thank you very much for all your support. Spurs Nate, I would be nothing without you guys. The Spurs Fan Cave would be nothing without you guys. And the reason why I say that is because it's all about you. Without you, we'd be nothing. We do love and appreciate you guys so very much, and we try to do the best that we can to give back to y'all, and give y'all, the updates that you deserve. Okay, so we will be talking to y'all guys soon, and again, thank you for tuning in. We love you guys very much, and until then,
go Spurs, go!